Hello, I'm Ryan Black, and welcome to an overview of audio processors. Audio processors are any effect, plug-in, outboard piece of gear that we use to manipulate, adjust, or change the characteristics of sound in an audio system. These general categories that I'm going to break things into apply to both live sound and the recording studio, and also things like guitar effects pedals and so forth. And basically, most of the sonic effects and adjustments we make, both aesthetically, that meaning the things that you can hear that are interesting and exciting, as well as those that are more technical, that are the stuff you see an engineer like pulling out specific frequencies. They're not intended to be heard by an audience necessarily. They're intended to fix the audio and make sure that everything fit together. All of those processors can be fit into these three categories. And at the end, I'll talk about a couple that maybe don't fit into these categories, generally in the modern computer age, where we have some other powers that we can use. Here's the three primary categories of audio processors. The first is dynamic processors. These are processors that affect the amplitude of the audio. And they can be broken down into four primary processors: a compressor, a limiter, an expander, and a gate. So the first category is dynamics, and it affects the volume. It affects the amplitude. And within there you have four primary units that we use: components, plugins, whatever you want to call them. The second category is spectral processors, and these affect the frequency spectrum. And generally, these are either called filters or EQs. Filters are used to just cut out certain ranges of the frequency spectrum, and equalizers or EQs will be used to adjust the frequency range of a signal that passes through them. The third category is temporal processors, and temporal processors affect time. Temporal. They include reverbs and delays. Reverb is the sound of a space, but if we break that down, what it really is millions of reflections in a space, millions of small delays. And delays are generally a mechanical, or in the case of a digital system, a computer algorithm that takes a signal, waits, and then plays it back in some fashion. And that can be done with tape machines, cassette tapes, whatever, as well as obviously in the digital domain, IC computer chips, or in some cases there's effects units and stuff that will utilize sort of built-in ecosystems that are a little different than all of those. But in general, we understand what a delay is. So those are your three primary categories and the actual subcategories of processors under each. I will go through them one more time so you know them. Dynamic processors, which include compressors, limiters, expanders, and gates. Spectral processors, which include equalizers and filters. And temporal processors, which include delay and reverb. Of those, sort of 7 units, if filters and EQ are together, of those, we can combine them in millions of unique ways. And most of the effects that you've heard in audio come from a combination of or one of these sets of processors. So that's your general overview, and I'll do a follow-up video here that goes into a little more detail on the characteristics of each of those processors. Thanks, and we'll talk soon.